TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. They are worse than ever. Hi, this is Consumer Protection Attorney Bill Clanton. I've helped hundreds of consumers, regular folks like me and you, deal with inaccurate credit reporting, bad background checks, debt collection harassment, and all other sorts of consumer-related issues. In this video, I'm going to talk about how Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion are worse than ever, and how there's a new study out that shows it. All right, so the CFPB put out a new study with data they've gotten from 2020 and 2021 to show that the major credit bureaus, the big three, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, are doing a worse job than ever. I'll give some background about this report and the CRAs and talk about three impacts these are having on people, and then finish with some more information about this report and just how bad the bureaus are doing. Okay, so every year the CFPB makes a report under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. They're required to make this report. They usually include it as part of their annual report. But this year, let me see what the language says. The increased complaint volume about the national credit reporting agencies and their changes in response to these complaints led the CFPB to publish an independent report. They thought it was so important and that the bureaus are doing such a bad job, they issue an independent report. From January 2020 to September 2021, so that's 12 months plus 9, 21 months, the CFPB received more than 800,000 credit or consumer reporting complaints. More than 700,000 of these reports were about Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So the vast majority were about the big three credit bureaus. And reports about the national credit reporting agencies, the big three, accounted for more than 50% of the complaints submitted to the CFPB in 2020 and more than 60% of the complaints submitted to the CFPB in 2021 were about Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. The whole CFPB and the whole United States, 60% of the complaints were about these entities. They're a huge problem. Okay, so here's the three things that people describe, the majority of people describe, or many people describe, in their complaints to the CFPB. Consumers are complaining they're caught in an automated system where they're unable to have their problems addressed. You may have attempted to dispute information with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, inaccurate information, and you've not gotten the response that you deserve. You've not gotten the response that they're required to give you. And this is especially frustrating if you're trying to buy a car or house or applying for employment. Number two, consumers waste time, energy, and money trying to correct their reports. Now, it's no secret that reports have errors. It's common. At least 3%, there's an error rate of at least 3% based on the Bureau's own numbers and their processes. Okay, so consumers have complained to the CFPB. Regular folks like me and you complain to the CFPB that their disputes are not getting handled properly, and these problems are compounded. The inaccurate information is causing problems that get compounded when they're trying to manage other personal issues. Some consumers have reported that debts go onto their credit reports without their knowledge, and they're surprised to learn of these debts being put onto their credit reports without their knowledge. A lot of times these are medical bills. They have no notice. All of a sudden it pops up on their credit report when they're trying to buy a house or buy a car. That is a real problem. People in their disputes are telling the CFPB they're exasperated by the dispute process. And here's the third thing. Consumers are caught between furnishers and the credit reporting agencies. Now, what does that mean? Okay, furnishers are the entities, the organizations, the companies that provide data to the credit bureaus. These are banks, credit unions, debt collectors, landlords, anybody who provides information to the credit bureaus is considered a furnisher. They furnish the information to the bureaus that the bureaus report about you. So consumers are complaining to the CFPB that they are caught between the furnishers and the credit bureaus. The furnishers will say they tried to correct it. The credit bureaus will say that it's the furnisher's problem, and they get nowhere. Nobody corrects it because they're each pointing fingers at the other. I've seen this happen in cases. I've seen cases where you get a letter from a bank saying it's the bureau's fault for reporting it incorrectly. The bureau says it's the bank's fault, and nothing gets corrected. It's a huge problem. And CFPB says this is especially difficult for victims of identity theft. Now, those are the three effects that are on consumers, and some more thoughts about this report and from the CFPB. Now, consumers have the absolute right under the Fair Credit Reporting Act to dispute inaccurate information on their credit report. And if you have inaccurate information on your credit report, you should be disputing it. You should be engaging in this process, even though the results the result may not be that it corrects it. You need to document your attempts to correct the information. That's the important part. In 2020, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion changed the way they handle complaints submitted to them by the CFPB. They are handling them faster and with less resolution. So in 2021, the national credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, reported relief in less than 2% of complaints, down from 25% in 2019. It's huge. The CFPB ends this summary, and I'll read from it verbatim. The National Credit Reporting Agency's responses to these complaints raise serious questions about whether they are unable or unwilling to comply with the law. Now, if you've seen my other videos, you know that the bureaus have a hard time following the Fair Credit Reporting Act. If you have a problem with your credit report, it's important you dispute it and continue to dispute it after you get a dispute response. Continue to dispute it, and continue to dispute it. The more disputes you have, the more proof you have the bureaus are not acting on their obligations under the law. All right, if you're having problems with your credit report, you want to talk about disputing it or want to get started disputing it, give us a call. We're happy to talk to you and help you out with it, point you in the right direction, get you started on getting your credit report corrected. And if we can't help you with that, then we're happy to bring a case under the Fair Credit Reporting Act against the credit bureaus. Thank you for watching this video. Please share it if you got something out of it, and I'd appreciate if you subscribe to this channel. Thank you.